And your event is starting. And we're live. Hey guys, you're watching Tech Radar. I'm Basil.
Hi, I'm James.
Today is all about the Snapdragon 845. So chipsets in themselves, they're not the most exciting things in the world.
No.
And 10 nanometer, they're getting smaller and smaller, but they are becoming more and more powerful, finding their way into more and more smartphones.
And this is the one that matters, really. This is the big top-end flagship chipset coming from Qualcomm basically next year.
Yeah.
We know it's not going to be here by the end of the year. There's only a couple of weeks left. But apart from the Apple chips, this is one that really matters alongside it. There are a few others that we talk about a lot. But
the difference between the Apple chips, though, is that the Apple chips don't give us an insight into the entire next year of flagships because they're announced alongside the phones that they're in.
Yeah. And the exciting thing is this is the chipset we're very likely to see in a lot of top-end phones. We'll get into that a bit more in a moment. But yeah,
we will. But first,
this is an exciting topic, we promise.
We do. First, if you're not already subscribed to Tech Radar, subscribe. That's how you are going to stay on top of everything that we do, including all our live shows, which are generally on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Yeah. Right, so first off, quick shout out to some people in the room. We got R2Stick, we have Ishan, we have Raphael, we have Oluwafemi David, Felix Siojin. What's up, everyone? Hello from Nigeria. Not me. You. Hello from London. Right, let's start with the Snapdragon 845. Now, there are a few key areas that this improves on its predecessor, but the most obvious one that everyone's shouting out about is video. So for anyone who hasn't seen the Snapdragon 845, the Galaxy S9, HTC U12, maybe the LG G7, unless LG decides to go for 835s, which could happen.
Yeah, potentially. I would think LG G7.
Samsung just bought up a load of 845s. LG may have a shortage. And I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
We'll wait and see.
But this chipset is going to be able to record not just 4K video, not just 4K video at 60 frames per second, iPhone 10, iPhone 8, but also 4K video in HDR. Damn. So that's something that we absolutely haven't seen before, which is amazing because it means that these 4K HDR screens, Sony Xperia XZ Premium, will finally have a use case which is practical beyond one or two shows streaming over Amazon. And when are you even going to get those streaming speeds?
So yeah, we'll probably see a phone from Sony using it. We can probably expect the next OnePlus phone to have it. I know we've only just had a OnePlus 5T, but OnePlus 6, if that happens next year, that's probably going to be a top-end processor. So this is going to be a processor that matters. This is going to be the one that is, I keep saying processor, what they actually want to call it is what is it, a chip platform, isn't it? Mobile platform is what they always want us to call it now. It is basically still a chipset, but it's a wider variety rather than just the processing power, because it goes down to so many different levels. Everything is
talking about AI now as well, a fair bit. So we're going to start with talking about that video and the imaging in general. So this comes down to the Spectra 280, which is a component of it, the ISP, which enables full HD video at iPhone speeds, which is, what is it again, 240 frames per second, I think. And their 4K video at 60 frames per second. It also enables 16 megapixel pictures to be taken up to 60 images per minute, which is just ridiculous. Sorry, per second. So that's just absolutely bonkers kind of burst mode speed. It also boasts improved graphics as well. It's got a new Adreno 630 GPU. It's apparently 30% more powerful than the Snapdragon 835. Now, one of the comments that's been going most crazy in the comments section is Kirin or Snapdragon 845. Based on the fact that on pure horsepower, the Snapdragon 835 and the Kirin 970 are pretty neck and neck. You'd imagine that the 845 is gonna,
fingers crossed,
piggyback up the Kirin, which will be good. Leapfrog, that's the one. I knew there was an animal in there. Well, okay, so now the chat room has gone crazy.
It's going crazy.
So let's see what you guys are saying. Hello to Aditya, Rodimus, Ashok, Pele. Which devices will use this new Snapdragon 845? And that's from Rinzwala. Shall we list them?
Yeah, let's run through them again. So we think it's going to be the Samsung Galaxy S9, which we're expecting to maybe see at CES. Probably not, though. Probably going to be a little bit of a teaser then and then see it at MWC. Usually you get half of the phone. Well, for some markets of the phones, maybe not half, but some markets of the phones use an Exynos processor, while the other market use a Qualcomm Snapdragon. as you were saying earlier, we've heard rumours that they've brought up a lot of chipsets for the 845, so we might see that take over from the Exynos a little bit more, but it'd be in at least one version of the Galaxy S9. I kind
of hope so, because that level of kind of like that disparity has been a bit of a problem for us as reviewers, because people in the US are saying which is more powerful, and we can't actually get hold of one, they can't get a hold of the other, and it's just like
so if they just went one platform, put all their eggs in one basket, that always goes well, doesn't it? As you said earlier, we're thinking HTC U12 or whatever the next flagship from HTC is called, maybe LG G7, sometimes LG are a little bit behind on it. Well, a little bit ahead even, and then and then get there too early and go for a chipset that's a bit later. OnePlus 6, if that happens, if we see another phone from OnePlus, which we will.
Sony Xperia XZ Premium 2, whatever it ends up being called,
and whatever else Sony goes for as well. We'd expect probably the next line down, where they have that kind of the XZ1. XZ2 kind of lineup that will probably have the up-to-date processor as well. Any more?
I think Nokia will probably be releasing something with it as well.
We've heard rumours of the Nokia 9 already.
Nokia 9,
the Nokia 9, but also we've also heard rumours again that'll come at CES, so that probably won't be in time for
845. And I'm guessing that Qualcomm, as good a relationship as they may have with Nokia, will probably want to hold off their debut device for a more established Android player.
Put it in the Samsung. Put it in the Samsung.
So let's see when all that happens. But what's super interesting is I think this generation is maybe the second, but definitely it's one of the first generations of Kirin devices that's just been so widely well received. The AI story sounded like a little bit of fluff, admittedly, but it's not really something you can test within a few weeks of using the phone. But I've been using the Mate 10. Every time I jump to another device, I'll come back to this, and I'll really, really enjoy using it. The camera is very, very good, and the automatic scene detection does work in day-to-day use very, very well. It hasn't slowed down, unsurprisingly. It's a £699 phone.
Imagine that for about 2 months.
God. It used to happen. But so the Kirin actually, like, battery efficiency is off the chart as well. Snapdragon, it's got Huawei hot on its heels with this processor, so they've really got to step things up, and they did with the 835 as well. The 835, unlike the 820 and the 810,
such a big improvement, wasn't it?
Such a big improvement.
So even if it is a small improvement this time, as you were saying, the Kirin 970 is kind of on a par with the 835. Qualcomm don't need to do all that much with this, really. But also 980 will come up before we see the next generation of Qualcomm chips. So they do need to keep pace, really.
So talking numbers in terms of clock speeds and everything, get into that spec. So the CPU is comprised of 8 cores, so that's across the Kirin and the Snapdragon, both octa-core chipsets, as is the Exynos 9810. So the Snapdragon 845 has 4 Cortex A75 high power cores and 4 Cortex 855 lower power cores. Okay,
cool.
That's A73 and A55 on the Kirin. So that was 50. That's like basically slightly older generation, just slightly older. But the key difference is the clock speeds. The Snapdragon has a higher clock speed at the higher end and a lower clock speed at the lower end. So the lower end's all about battery efficiency, and the higher end's all about brute power. So we're looking forward. Like, what tends to happen, Snapdragons tend to benchmark a little bit better in Antutu, and in the GPU, the Adreno 630 looks like it's going to smash it in that regard as well. All of these have DDR4 RAM, and like I said earlier, they are all 10 nanometer processors. So the very latest specs, this won't slow down, but what are you going to be expecting to pay for a Snapdragon 845 device, do you reckon?
Well, the top end. You're going to be paying top end. In the UK, but we're talking £600 plus. In the US, we're talking $600 plus, until we maybe get to that OnePlus 6 price.
Stage. And I think the OnePlus, unless Nokia is able to do something, OnePlus will probably be the first affordable offering for this chipset. And when's OnePlus released? Generally, it's around July, July, isn't it? So summer.
Middle of June, so we're going to be waiting a while. We're going to be waiting 6 months since the OnePlus 5T, at least, maybe even a little bit longer. But maybe some markets will start to see the 845. God, I'm going to need to get that in my head. I keep saying 835. The 845 in some more affordable handsets from, say, Xiaomi. Xiaomi also use that processor quite a lot, so maybe we'll see that in some other markets. Probably not going to come to the US or UK immediately, but yeah. But start of next year, most flagship phones I think are going to start embracing this.
Yeah, I'm excited. So that was Rinzola asked that question, so thanks for that. That got us on a right tangent. Neil H, hi guys. Aditya again, hi. Shayas, hello. Snapdragon supports 5G network. Well, no, it supports 1.2 gigabit speed, which actually, so it's available
4.5G basically.
Yeah, it's already available on the Kirin 970. So it's something that we've seen before on the Mate 10, and the new Honor V10 or View 10, depending on your region, will support that as well.
5G is such a difficult topic right now because it's still the spectrum's still not decided on basically. So it's still such an up in the air figure really. Companies will keep toting that word of 5G, but at the moment we are really on 4.5G, and you're not going to be using these phones by the time 5G comes around in, I'm going to say at least 3 years time, but it's not coming anytime soon, really, is it?
Yeah.
So you're probably not going to be using these devices at that time. So maybe the next Qualcomm release, so we're talking a year's time, maybe that's when we start hearing even more about 5G, and that'll be when it's set up and properly ready for it.
Exactly. I mean, and when these 1.2 gigahertz speed networks, like with the infrastructures in place, something is really going to have to shift around contract setups, because if you're downloading 1 gig per second like that, and you stream an HDR 4K movie, then your 4 gigabytes of data will be gone in 4 seconds.
And a lot of people's contracts are just 4 gigabytes of data for 30 days. So,
so
you would be screwed.
We ain't at 5G just yet, but actually, like, we're not far off kind of parity being reached between when things have to change from a contract perspective.
Definitely.
So, can you guys check out my channel? No. Guys, this place is for Snapdragon 845. Let's keep it tight.
Yeah, that's what we want to talk about.
Hey guys, 845 now has official support for 480 frames per second at 720p. So how does Sony implement the 960 frames per second on a phone while having Snapdragon 835? So the way they do that is they have their stacked image sensor. It's the world's first stacked image sensor in a smartphone. And it's done in a way that you can only record a very short period of time at that 960 frames per second. If you've seen it, it's also incredibly bad in low light, and it's almost unusable unless you get your timing absolutely perfect and the lighting is incredible. It's great, it's class leading, but it's also very, very imperfect.
And whenever I used it, I always found you needed to have your position absolutely right as well, because it was so zoomed in. Like it was such a, I couldn't get anything that was interesting out. That it was, it's a really difficult thing to use.
I mean, if you
maybe the Snapdragon 845 will make that a lot easier for everyone else to jump on board and do that kind of tech. So.
Exactly. So if you think about a sensor, especially like a 19 megapixel sensor like the Sony, that's got a lot of pixels on it, 19 million. When you're squishing down to, it records, I think it's 720p at the 960. So it's squishing down to like the 720p level. So that's the level of crop that you're experiencing with your picture. It zooms that much in, and then it also doesn't have the information on the rest of the sensor to help counteract noise. So you end up with a lot of grain, these teeny tiny sensors getting even, it's not perfect is what I'm trying to say in a very long-winded way. And I'm really hoping, and I'm guessing it will be more usable at the 480 720p on the Snapdragon 845. Really good question, Moinel, thanks for that. And he says 960 frames per second. Okay, cool. So Tech Spotter, is there any mod for Galaxy S7 for 450 frames per second? I don't think so on that front.
Not really enough.
And if you want to be careful, because a lot of mods have also resulted in things like camera burn and stuff like that. So you don't want to be exposing your sensor too much. What else? Pele, it's basically the video performance where we'll see the awesome improvement. What's going to be the next selling point after for the Samsung Galaxy S9 far in the future? Okay, so video performance is important, but it isn't going to, in isolation, sell a smartphone.
No.
I mean, you look at the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, the video performance was big, but they also introduced support trait mode. They also upped the speed of the gaming as well.
Up the speed of everything.
Up the speed of everything.
Up the speed of everything. And again, that will probably be what 845 really does in everyday life that people will really notice, I think, will be that everyday speed.
There's also the security story. So what Qualcomm's saying is that they have an entire other element within their chipset dedicated to onboard security. So it's going to securely store all your biometric information. It's not going to have anything exported to the cloud. The specific words Qualcomm uses are, we designed the Snapdragon 845 with an entirely new secure processing unit that is engineered to help protect your personal data with vault-like security. So it basically makes sure that nothing is sent away from your device. And obviously that's cool and that's important. I haven't at any point with my 835, and maybe erroneously, I haven't felt like I've been exposed.
No.
So again,
but you never would you?
No, because their marketing is on point. But like, so again, that's not going to sell a phone. The fast charging and like quick charge 4 Plus, capable of up to 50% charge in 15 minutes. Now that actually could really sell a phone. And what I feel, if Qualcomm does what they did with the 835 and they absolutely smash battery life, battery efficiency, and they smash fast charging, that's going to be like potentially a really good in.
Yeah, definitely. And you're going to have manufacturers embrace that as well. So that's going to be the interesting thing if we do see that come onto
definitely. And with standardization of USB Type Cs now, which is becoming just on a like staple on every phone, even a lot of mid-ranges are featuring them. That is cool. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. So what's the difference between the Exynos and the Snapdragon? There are quite a few.
That's an interesting question, really, isn't it?
It is. So they have this like Adreno GPUs on Snapdragon's, Mali GPUs on the Exynos. So the Mali GPU, the G72, is similar to the Kirin's GPU, which is a G71. There are a lot of similarities as well, but they also don't use the Cortex A75 for the higher power cores. They instead use Mongoose 3rd generation proprietary cores, and that is whereas they do use the Cortex A53s as the lower power cores. So it's on a very grassroots level. What's really tangible though is that the Exynos processors have always been really reliably good. They've never really had a duff batch like you have on Qualcomm's.
The 821.
And 810 overheated
810,
like a
so live beeping, amazing.
I mean, I don't know if you guys remember the Sony Xperia Z3 Plus, Z4 in Japan. It literally felt like my thigh was on fire.
That was why.
No, that's a no. Oh wait, so we have had an Exynos there. So it's been a bit like of a hit and miss one with Qualcomm devices, but actually Exynos devices, that had nothing to do. The chipset had nothing to do with what went on with the Note 7. That was all the battery. Exynos devices have been consistently good. So that's the key difference between the Exynos. I'm
really, like, as we were talking about earlier, whether the Galaxy S9 will have, as you're saying, Samsung have bought a lot of 845 processors ready for the Galaxy S9. I still think we're going to see an Exynos version as well. In certain markets, again, maybe we will see it start, like the scale start to tip a little bit more towards Qualcomm. Maybe I don't really know why they would do that, because the Exynos, as you say, has just been so consistently good.
But it's volume. It's volume. They can't create that. They can't. I'm sure if they could, they would
go all in.
And make their own, because you've got internal economies of scale will be better. You'd think. I don't know. Maybe Qualcomm's just making so many that it actually costs less to use a Qualcomm device.
That's true.
Qualcomm chip.
So do you think we'll see this in the Galaxy Note 9 as well?
Yeah, I do. So Samsung's been consistent with it. They used to actually debut the more powerful chipsets on the Note series of devices, but last year they flipped it around.
So maybe we'll see the death of Exynos then, like potentially if they decide to go all in on Qualcomm.
Doesn't Samsung have some kind of processor component deal with Apple
that's true.
As well, and that benefits from Exynos.
It's so complicated, isn't it?
It's so incestuous. Everyone's sleeping with everyone and then suing them straight after. Right, let's get back to some questions about phones. Aditya asks, does the Snapdragon 845 have AI technology? It absolutely does. And we're talking how it was really difficult to actually measure this AI technology. Now, the way it was a Huawei who did it at the Mate 10 briefing, I think we both saw this, was they had this like series of images that this phone was like sorting through organically and recognizing pop up on screen. And then they said the Mate 9 will sort these images out at 100 images a second, whereas the iPhone will sort them out at like 10 images a second, and the Samsung Galaxy Note 8 will sort them out at 3 images a second. And so like the iPhone was really good. They're not the exact numbers, so please don't quote me on that one. And the Note 8, because this is meant to be the most powerful Android device in the world, and lo and behold, at sorting out organic images. Use case scenario for this, by the way, is when you want to not connect your phone to the internet but still be able to sort your images via criteria. Really random, but at the same time they really called out Samsung and Qualcomm.
It's not a daily use case scenario that anyone's really going to need, but it just shows that power behind it. This may mean that we're going to get even smarter voice assistants, so Google Assistant technology will be a lot faster
and more integrated into your phone. So if you have a Samsung Galaxy S8 or Samsung Galaxy Note 8 and you've got Bixby on board, tap the button and say, show me pictures of cats. I know you've got pictures of cats on your phone and it will find the pictures of cats. I can't remember off the top of my head, will it connect to the internet to do that?
I'm not sure.
I think it will. I think at the very least potentially to recognize your voice. And so that process, if Bixby was on a Huawei Mate 10, wouldn't connect to the internet, and it would be able to sort that all out faster than an iPhone or a Samsung device, but not potentially a Samsung Galaxy S9, because this, with its 845, has a AI core. Maybe. All TBC. Xiaomi phones are more affordable than OnePlus with almost the same features. So why would we buy a OnePlus? Because you can't get a Xiaomi phone here in the UK.
Yeah, that's why we talk about OnePlus over Xiaomi a lot of the time, is Xiaomi's only just entered into the European market. They entered into Spain, I think it was last month, at the start of November, and hopefully that means we're going to see them make their way towards the UK soon, hopefully.
Heading in this direction.
Heading in this direction slowly. That's why we don't talk about them so much. And we obviously understand that Xiaomi are available in a lot of other markets, and I've tried out quite a few of their phones. Like the Mi Mix 2 is genuinely amazing. Holding it in my hand, I was really impressed. But that's the main reason we don't talk about them that often. Sorry.
So fingers crossed, petition Xiaomi to launch phones in the UK, and we will. So we've been asked, what about the winner of the Honor 7X competition? So that winner was announced, but we've actually got a current photography competition sponsored by Honor. So check that out. You can find it on Instagram in our link. You flex your photographic muscles.
I'll put the Instagram link into the chat.
Amazing, James. You flex photographic muscles and you take a picture with a hashtag Max Your City, and that should be your inspiration, and then you can win an Honor 7X. It's like a celebration of December, because we'll be giving one away every single week. That's for Path Agrawal. Thank you for reminding me of that. Are there any advanced capabilities for AR for our tasks in the Snapdragon 845? And that is a really good point. They haven't shouted about AR too loudly.
No, VR was such like a massive part of the 835, wasn't it? It was like that was one of the really big selling points for that. And I think obviously VR is a bit different to the AR based stuff, but it feels like they've kind of made their progress there with the 835. And this is a bit more. We're talking more security. We're talking more the AI elements of it. I'm thinking next year's processor will begin again when we see the AR integration,
more mixed reality type
especially
stuff.
After Apple has gone so hard on it with the chip inside the iPhone 8 and the iPhone X, and it's going to be in the new iPads as well, I expect,
like
at some point.
Apple was chasing Qualcomm with the AI story, and now it feels like Qualcomm's chasing Huawei with the AI story.
Yeah, that's very true.
So it's almost like, do you get what I mean? Actually, Qualcomm, and now they're also chasing Apple with the camera story, and they've introduced the HDR element. So I'm guessing that Huawei or whoever announces the next chipset will introduce an HDR element with something else. So it's this game of tag almost. So how much do you... It'd be interesting actually. How many of you guys own a 4K HDR TV? Do you care about your content being in 4K HDR that you record? Or do you think it's just going to take extra space and it's just going to, compromise your storage situation?
I don't own one, so...
I don't own one as well.
It doesn't really matter
to me.
And
actually, most smartphones don't have HDR screens.
Exactly, yeah. But that is something maybe we're going to see in 2018. We're probably going to see more embracing of that. So more phones from Sony doing that. Fingers crossed, anyway.
Fingers crossed.
Many fingers crossed.
Kaustub Carpe, what is the cost of the 845? So the 845 isn't going to cost anything in itself. You're going to be able to buy phones that have it inside, and we reckon they're going to be launching in the UK for around £600-700 at the very least, if not more. Yeah, initially definitely £600 to £800.
Yeah.
And down the line, it'll obviously drop. And when the OnePlus comes, I'd hope for it to be about £450.
Exactly. Yeah. Down the line, we are going to be talking about the £400 mark. So if you don't want to buy it immediately and you don't need it right away, then yeah, by the time of next summer, hopefully we're going to see phones with I say next summer, hopefully June, that's when we'll start to see that trickle down to £400 phones.
Exactly. LG G7 to feature Snapdragon 845. So we talked about this a little bit earlier. The LG G6 unfortunately didn't feature a Snapdragon 835. Instead, it featured a revised Snapdragon 821, which had support for HDR video.
Yeah.
That's cool, and it was actually like, oh, this is a really good phone, and LG's introduced this awesome aspect ratio. LG's really innovated, and then a few weeks later we realized how good the Snapdragon 835 was, how much better. And the G6 kind of, unfortunately for it, fell flat on its face. It was asking a lot of money, and we knew deep down that we weren't getting the latest greatest experiences. So I really hope, for LG's sake, that they do feature the 845. The 835 is an excellent processor, but a year ago we thought the 821 was an excellent processor.
Yeah, and the 835 is in the LG V30, which they launched earlier this year.
So we've really seen it before.
Yeah, we've seen LG embrace that. So whether the 845 will be ready for that, or if they've just got leftover stock of the 835, let's see.
But the chances are we're going to be getting it at Mobile World Congress, which is it's end of February.
Last weekend of February.
Will the processor really improve photo quality? Are we at the point where you need a bigger sensor? Google has actually single-handedly proven how much of a difference software and onboard magic can be with the same sensor that we've seen elsewhere. It's a dual pixel sensor that we've seen in other devices on the new Google Pixel 2 XL and Pixel 2. So if Qualcomm's able to improve the speed of processing on the image processor, it can speed up those HDR shots. It can get really quick fire, amazing HDR, and increase the speed of processing generally. You'll be able to bracket 3 images super quickly, like I was talking about, those 60 frames per second or 60 shots per second images at full 16 megapixels. If you're bracketing 3 shots, or 5 or 20 shots, half of them underexposed, half of them overexposed by different stop counts, then you're going to be able to get the most incredible HDR. So absolutely, there's scope for improvement, because when you've got this size limitation, the smarts really do have to come from that software and power under the hood. That's what Huawei's doing really well with the Kirin, and like I said, Google's managed to do with the Pixel 2. I Made You Read This says, I subscribe to your channel. How are you? We're very well, thank you. So we got the British unknown. Hey guys, nice. Hey guys, no, he says hey guys. Hey Finley, nice to have you with us. We have questions from, is Apple shooting themselves in the foot right now by having issues with Qualcomm? It seems like Qualcomm holds the key to a lot of the stuff, both radios, data speeds, image and processor, etc. Yes and no. This is a situation where they both kind of need each other, I'm guessing. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but these legal battles happen alongside contractual deals being in place all the time. It's been
going on for so long as well.
We've
seen all this innovation of the last at least 5 years while these two companies have been battling out. So,
and then look how it ended with HTC and Apple. HTC ended up buying Apple ended up buying a chunk of HTC's patents, and
I don't really think it ends up with anyone really particularly struggling. If anything, the innovation just still keeps coming there. So I don't think it's too much of an issue. As you say, they're still working together while also battling each other in court. So it's a really difficult situation, and we don't really know enough on it.
No,
but it seems to work for them somehow.
Exactly. So I don't think it's gonna affect the next iPhone. I could be wrong. We'll find out around kind of October time, I guess, when we find out who's actually making the components for the chipset.
Yet. We're talking about October.
Fahad asks, is Brexit going to affect the price of the Snapdragon 845 devices? It's kind of too early to say, because the initial damage has been done, I guess, when the announcement.
Exactly. Yeah, we saw the OnePlus phones go up in price,
and the iPhones went up in price. We saw the iPhones.
Yeah, that was. So I think we've already had that first at least initial
wave
jolt.
Yeah, unless there's specific news pertaining to a deal that has been put in place surrounding legislation of taxes around devices or something like that.
And that's also the nature of Brexit right now, isn't it? No one really knows what the impact is going to be. So yeah, we can't really judge that per se. But at the moment, we're not predicting anything immediate.
Exactly. Wow, we got loads of questions.
Yeah,
loads of questions. Right. Let me find one that I can read without getting fired.
Anashul Singh has asked when the OnePlus 6 will come out, while Basil just goes through and answers some other, finds some other questions. We expect June next year, a year after the OnePlus 5, and then 6 months later did the OnePlus 5T last month. So yeah, we expect June next year will probably be the case. Might be a little bit before, might be a little bit after. We're just going to have to wait and see, really.
So Amu Goyal asks, does Snapdragon have more raw power than the Apple A11 Bionic? Don't know, do not know. But generally, actually, the Snapdragon 835 benchmarked worse than the A10.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, and also Apple was just so they're so closed off with their figures and everything. We don't really know. We don't know the breadth of details that we know about the
exactly
right
when
now.
You're benchmarking across different operating systems as well. I mean, in terms of real world use, I haven't had any slowdown on an iPhone 7 or 8. So iPhones generally are really efficient, and that's a staple. But neither have I had any slowdown on an 835. And when you're looking at that kind of information, you just know that for what you're going to need, both processors are going to live up to it.
Yeah, we're at that stage now, aren't we?
Where you can decide iOS or Android, not chipset versus chipset.
Exactly. Yeah.
We've got, I think it's impossible that Bixby will be better than Siri and Google. I think I agree with you for now, but Bixby has a lot of scope. Have you used Bixby a lot?
Yeah, I've used it quite a bit. And Google Assistant has really come on a lot in the last year. Bixby's already come on a lot, and considering it only launched in March.
Bixby to have a baby. I want to have like Bixby Assistant, because then it would be incredible. Like, what I like a lot about Bixby, it's a very contextually linkable conversation that you can have with it. Open my gallery and find me pictures of cats. Open my WhatsApp and send a message to my mum.
And that's the way that Google Assistant was pitched, wasn't it? That was like it's not really become that, I don't think.
It hasn't, because it's a one task. Like, if Google Assistant got into that contextual in one conversation, or one sentence thing, whereas with Google Assistant you have to say, what's the weather? And it'll tell you. And then, what about tomorrow? And that's its contextuality. Whereas, I actually prefer interacting with Bixby, but the answers that I get from Google are more accurate.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. But both of them have so much scope at the moment, so...
we have...
Hopefully we see some big improvements on Bixby for the S9 anyway. That'd be brilliant.
So, Ishan says the predecessors of this chip are going to be used in some laptops. ASUS announced a laptop out there that's the first gigabit LTE laptop. So the Snapdragon 835 is clearly powerful enough to power a laptop with Windows.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
Imagine this 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, remember that Nokia tablet, the RT tablet, with the Snapdragon 810 or 801 in it.
Yeah,
it had a Snapdragon 801. It was 4G, beautiful Nokia tablet that ran Windows RT. And the thing that we hated about it was the fact it ran Windows RT. So that doesn't mean Nokia, you should release a tablet. Stick to smartphones for now. Get it right, and then maybe. Ishan's like big on this. He's really, really keen on this device, and specifically he thinks that these chipsets are going to end up in Surface 4 killers because they're going to be more affordable potentially than the Intel chipsets, which habitually do cost a lot. You just look in the PC space, you've got the AMD chips, which are undercutting Intel really, really aggressively. And if Qualcomm's coming into that, as well, then we could see it. And of course, you're getting laptops with gigabit LTE out of the box, which is sweet. Okay, loads of questions, dudes. This is amazing. Nice to see you all in here. Shout out to Amu, to Suman.
If we don't get to your question, sorry about that.
G6 is at an amazing price. So we know for a fact that the British Unknown has an LG G6, and if you pick it up at the right price, it is a really good phone. And the G6 Plus as well was such an undermarketed phone. It's so good, so much storage, and like I said, the 821 is a very good chipset. It is just a shame that at launch, as soon as the Galaxy S8 was launched, it completely overshadowed
it. Was like 3 weeks, wasn't it? Yeah, it got blown out of the water because the G6 wasn't even out on shelves before. We already had the S8 in our hands. At least we had it in our hands. So
and then the V30 is an incredible phone. Had so much love when it launched, but then it took a long time to come to market here in the UK. So if LG can just unify that launch of phone and then time to market and get like the newest chipsets in their phones,
and also they launched it, then we had the iPhone announcement, and then they released it. So they had already, like, the hype had already died a bit because we had new iPhones. We had an iPhone X already announced. Sorry, iPhone 10 announced. 10. I will get it right one day. One day I will say iPhone 10.
We just did so many rumor roundups where we were saying iPhone X. It's like we're going to be calling this chipset the 835 for a long time. So we expect a lot of people telling us 845. Get it right, guys. You're meant to be the pros. Can I edit videos on a laptop powered by a Snapdragon 845? Said Sayed Ehtesham. You can, because you can edit videos on a smartphone powered by an 835. If you download Adobe Premiere Clip, that enables some basic editing similar to that you'd expect on an iPhone, for example, with iMovie. That's how I actually edit some of my more vloggerish videos. It's not ideal, but the power is there. And actually, one of the benchmarks that I do when I compare to the power under the hood of phones, and it's really useful when comparing the chipset like a Kirin against an iPhone, is I throw the exact same footage in there and I see how fast it renders that movie out. And so the 845 will absolutely be able to process out movies. Kirin beats 845. Interesting, and that's from R2 Stick. Why? You've got about 3 minutes to tell us, because that's how long we've got left on this show. So LG are good with the display, they're good with audio. Yeah, the V30 had excellent audio, and this is Shubham, but their marketing just kind of sucks. And they delay their launches.
Kind of sums up.
fair. Yeah. So British Unknown, Windows RT. Oh, I forgot about that disaster. Yeah. Let's move on. Mizzou Mike. I've got in the Note 8. I've heard that it's capable of 4K 60 frames per second. Will be enabled by a software update. Is this probably with Oreo? And will this be the norm with the 845? Since the iPhone already has it available. Huawei is coming for Qualcomm. Wow, that was foreboding.
Yeah.
Oh no, forget Qualcomm.
That's a different, That's a different comment.
Cool. So, 845 officially is the one that supports it. 835 officially doesn't support it, but just like Sony was able to magically get 960 frames per second burst mode on there by making its own sensor, then Samsung could potentially override it if they've figured out some magical way of doing it. But it really does all start with this chipset level, and then you build on that with the phone, whether it's Sony making its own proprietary sensor or Samsung fiddling the software so it works beautifully with an S Pen and has a Wacom digitizer and 4096 levels of pressure sensitivity. This Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 that we're talking about is the base for whatever happens next year phone wise. I think that's a pretty fair comment.
It's going to be a word world. Yeah, it's going to be the words we say a lot, really.
Yes, it is.
We're going to be sat on the sofa a few times, I expect, saying, here's the new phone, blah, with this inside. So it's bad.
My muscle memories already, as I've typed 45, just gone to 35, 835, 845. Exactly. So wrapping up with the last few comments.
Yeah.
Do you recommend skipping the 835 for the 45? Absolutely not. The 835 is an excellent processor, so if the 45 comes out, you can find a 35 device that's cheaper. It's got excellent battery efficiency. All the prices are going to drop. It's got excellent battery efficiency. It's got really, really fast charging. It's also got a lot of power under the hood. Can handle any game that's out now really, really well. And I'd probably say if you are into gaming, get a phone with a little bit more RAM than the 4 gigabytes that are in the S8 and the LG V30. Maybe the 6 gig or 8 gig OnePlus 5 is just such a great value device.
OnePlus 5T now. But
OnePlus 5T, exactly.
Can't really buy the OnePlus 5 anymore, sadly.
No,
not that sad. Not that sad. You can buy a OnePlus 5T for the same price. I don't know why I said sadly.
And it's a better phone with a better display. And I think that is pretty much all of the questions. You guys have been super responsive.
Thanks, guys.
And really appreciate that, because when we were making this live show earlier in the system, we were like, we're going to talk about a chipset.
Will people get excited? You were, so that's good.
And we were. We like genuinely were. So we're glad that you make us feel like part of a community that cares about chipsets. Have a wonderful day, wonderful rest of the week, and tune in on Thursday where someone else will be talking about something else, but it will all be pertaining to technology. Thanks, guys. Bye.